Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
Rebel soul child got a fist balled. I'm a respawn of ancestors and I'm blessed, They are not him, tell him fess up. I get check stub, hella carefree, nothing scares me, hella reckless. Yeah, I got next up, right? No, we not the same, cause see when I look in your iris, you likely to talk but not ready to ride. You do better keeping it quiet. My pen is ignited, my soul is enlightened. I like who I am, but I'm biased. The palette is right, and my drip is a fountain. I'm not like these regular guys. All of that talk is misguided. She like the way I make the tape print, but the way I make the words play is grim. I'm the reaper reaching for the kill switch. The label cut the check like the bladesmith. Something sparking where his brain is. The beat is somewhere where their prayers sit. Geronimo, the way I make the bass jump when no parachute is tasted.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Throwing Hands. Your boy Jay Nez. Got my co-host
And it's your
Josh.
boy Josh.
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. You know, just been hustling and grinding like we always been doing. How about you?
Every day we hustling. Every day we hustling. Same thing, man. Same thing. Just getting it in. Trying to win the rat race. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. There ain't no rest for the wicked. You know, it's all part of the grind.
Right. Definitely. Man, we had a crazy weekend. What'd you think about that Jake Paul stuff?
Bro, I knew Jake was gonna win as much as I didn't want to admit it. But I'm happy that Nate Diaz didn't get knocked out. Like, he was a straight up dog in that fight, bro. Like, straight up. And he went, I honestly say he performed better than pretty much any of the other fighters that he's competed against so far, excluding Tommy Fury.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We all know that he's not a boxer.
Who, Nate Diaz or Jake?
Does he have hands? Nate Diaz.
Oh, okay.
Does he have hands? Yes, he has hands. We know he's not a boxer. He has hands. Obviously, we see him laying folks out on a regular basis in the octagon. But boxing is different, man. The one thing, like one of the biggest things that I noticed about him, it was he wasn't really turning over his hands when he was punching. He was punching kind of like open palmed, it looked like at times. He wasn't throwing his lower body into it at all. There was just a lot of stuff about it that I was like, all right, you're below an amateur level in the boxing realm.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely saw it too, and like, you know, like his normal antics that he does and everything. I knew that wasn't going to be as favorable in the judge's eyes in boxing, and it's like he always does with the pitter patter style, the volume. But I don't know, it was. I definitely give him credit for how well he did, because like when we were watching it, he had a higher success rate of landing. Jake was 33%, while Nate was 39%. Jake landed, I think, 179 strikes, and Nate did 143. And it was like I was telling you too, like the way that Nate was having success was to kind of like box him in, like stuff the pocket, get him with the dirty uppercuts from inside, and then just start laying that way.
Right. No, I mean, the one thing that I will say that I noticed during the fight that I gotta give it up to Jake for, he actually looked like an amateur boxer. He looked like a trained boxer that was going through the motions, trying to get better.
Yeah.
That was the first time that to me he looked like a straightforward boxer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised too that he didn't get gassed out, because like typically you see what happens with their opponents, like Conor McGregor, prime example. You know, they give everything that they got in those first couple rounds, but then their gas tank wears out, and that's when Nate Diaz kicks in. So I was actually very impressed with Jake's cardio considering it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, so today we got a wonderful guest. Very special guest. We saw him at Rage in a Cage, one of the Rage in Cages we covered. Um, you know, introduce us.
Yeah, you know, and you know I gotta introduce him, right? And hey, let me tell you something. This guy is a lethal weapon that'll knock you out with one shot to the chin. His opponents stiffen up rigor mortis as he cracks you like a Ford Focus. Your brain be caught in locomotive motion, the crowd be roaring and making a commotion. I heard MGK told him his beard is weird, so he hit him and made his teeth disappear, leaving him like a mumble rapper with more caps than 6ix9ine mixed with Austin Powers. But don't worry, because it's just a parody, a paradigm to set the standard as he sets a pattern, leaving each victim beaten and battered. So, ladies and gentlemen, you better steer clear as he's the one and only Trevor Beard.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That was, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm humbled. I'm humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much.
Hey, you know I gotta
Hey,
treat
man.
you right, man.
Yeah. Fun fact:
How you feeling?
I have yet to have one of my opponents go like completely to sleep. So that's in the future, hopefully.
Well, the 2 fights that I seen, one of them, if he wasn't completely asleep at some point,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely slept well that night,
Yeah.
or didn't sleep. We might have been on concussion watch. So
Little
Yeah,
nightmares.
honestly, yeah. I mean, if we're talking about the last one, I did not. I thought the stoppage was early initially until I saw the guy's face afterwards, and then I was like, "Oh, never mind." Like this, I guess that's why I don't like decide when the fight is stopped, you know. But
yeah, no,
yeah.
he definitely took some damage, man. He definitely
Mhm.
took some damage.
I seen the kid afterwards, and he seemed. Oh, my camera's a little off. I seen the kid afterwards, and he seemed fine. You know, I saw photos of him like a few days after the fight, and he just had a little bruising, but I think he was all right. You know,
Yeah.
it's always my intention. Like, it's never my intention to like harm anybody beyond the fight. Like, that has to happen. That has to happen. Period. Even if like I have to get harmed, you know, like that's the first goal is win. But if I can win without damaging my opponent outside the cage, then like that's always preferred. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't always
And-
happen like that though.
Yeah, and you know it's part of the nature of the sport. You know, it's you guys walk in there knowing that you're putting your health on the line, which is from
Yeah.
the get-go tremendous respect. And you know, if like you say, if you could take him out before like any more damage goes beyond that, then you're solid. But I mean, I remember when we caught the camera angle of that hook that you landed on him. Your coach Trevor approached me afterwards and was asking, I was like, what, he hit him, right? He hit him with the hook, and I was like, holy shit, yes, he did.
Yeah. He was thinking it was a straight right. But the hook that I threw is not necessarily something that I practice too often.
Yeah.
But I kind of was going on instinct, and I saw it was there.
Yeah.
And again, like I have nothing but respect for the guys that I have fought, and like all fighters, you know what I mean? So I'm not meaning to like talk about anybody in any sort of way, but you come out with your hands down, like that's just like it's swing first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Although I will say though, he looked like he was trying to touch gloves with me initially, and just for future reference, if anybody's watching out there, I don't touch gloves at the start. We can dap up afterwards if you're. I got fucking texts going off. We can dap up afterwards and like and be cool and hug it out and talk and whatever. But up until the fight happens and it's like done with, I'm kind of in a different mindset. I just don't like to touch gloves, and so like that's usually a thing that's settled before, you know, the ref breaks us to fight. But he was trying to do it after, like as I'm coming at him. He's like, "Are we touching?" And I was like, "No, bro, we're not touching." I gave him a little stutter to let him know we were fighting.
Yeah.
And, I just kind of saw him like he bit on it. Let's just say that, to put it lightly, and his hands were completely down still. So I was like, "Well."
Yeah.
He turned his head away from me too, and I think that's why I might have thrown the hook. I didn't really think about it at the time; I just kind of did it. But I think my mindset was like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna have to turn that head back around, and when it turns around, it's gonna meet my hand." So
yeah, and I remember when you were Oh, who's talking?
What are you gonna say, Josh?
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I remember when I was watching you fight that guy, as you're walking forward and I saw you go for the glove touch, I just see you shaking your head no. So it's like it's the element that people don't see, in a sense that, you know, you're in the mindset, you're going into war. So like you could dap up later afterwards, but right now you have to go all in.
Yeah, and I'm like a sportsman, like I'm not I'm not into like being cheap or anything, which is another reason I didn't just haul off and like fire off on him like before he had a chance to realize, you know. Or
Mhm.
God forbid, like if you ever seen those fighters that fake the glove touch, you'll never catch me doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
some
little much.
shit.
That's
Yeah,
a little much.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's the other like that's why when I went towards him, I wanted to shake my head clearly, like no, like put your
Mhm.
hands up, we're fighting. I wanted it to be clear, and I wasn't entirely sure he was ready. So I was like, I don't want to knock this kid out or crack him, and then have anybody even suggest that I hit him early or like before he was quote unquote ready.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to flinch him. And once he flinched, I was like, okay, he knows we're fighting.
So take us back a little bit. You know, this is your second fight. What got you into this? How far back is this go?
Honestly, fighting, I've always been a fan of fighting, and I've loved it since I was a child. I used to watch like the early on UFC fights with like bare knuckle.
Hey.
I remember, I don't know, man, like fighting's been in my life like as long as I can remember. Just from like an outside standpoint, like viewing it, you know, I never really participated. I took judo in like elementary school, but nothing that ever like had any lasting impact on me, and a little bit of wrestling. But this, like the passion for MMA probably started like, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. My entire life, I wanted to play football. Like that was my goal. Was like, oh, I'm going to go to the NFL. Like I spent all my time focusing on that and other things. Like I was kind of a fuck off, which is why I didn't make it to the NFL, obviously. And then after, you know, I graduate college and I'm done playing ball and I got my degree. I think it was 2017. And I was just kind of living, working and whatnot. And I was just missing like that competitive fire. And then I just decided one day, I was also working an office job. That was the other thing. I was working in an office, sitting there one day, and I was like, I would rather get punched in the face for a living than like do this for the rest of my life. You know,
Mhm.
that was kind of my thought. And then I was like, well, why couldn't I? You know, and yeah, and that just kind of started from there. Once I started telling people that I was going to do it, I was like, I'm kind of like trapping myself in this now. Like I'm not going to be a liar or a poser. So yeah, and then once I started doing it, man, it was a wrap. Like I walked into Arizona Combat Sports in 2019, at the end of 2019, right before COVID hit. And from the jump, the first time I went there, I was like, oh, I don't need to be anywhere else if I want to do this. So, and then COVID hit, shut everything down. And then I went, that motivated me more. I was like, once the gyms open up, man, I'm going to hit it. And I did. So I've been doing it pretty much ever since.
Nice.
So a little over 3 years of training at Arizona Combat Gym.
Yeah.
They've been getting you together, getting you ready. When did you kind of know it was time to make that leap and step into the octagon for the first time?
Well, the first thing is at Arizona Combat Sports, they like to say 1 year there equals 5 years anywhere else. So I like to tell people I've been training for like 15 years. Just get out the way. But I would probably say, what was the question again? My bad, bro.
When did you kind of when did it click and was like, all right, it's time to step in the gun?
Oh, well, I wanted to like a year after I started training. And I actually went to my coaches and I was like, hey, man, like, can I fight? And because I think a couple other guys I knew were getting fights. And I was like, well, I think I can fight. I think I'm ready. And my coach was just like, you're not ready. You're not ready yet. And I was like, damn, all right, man. And like, you know, it wasn't really that hard of a pill to swallow because I'm like, I'll be ready eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 2 years because I wanted to fight probably like 6 months into training. And then I asked them about it. And it was probably like 2 years in before they started talking about like, okay, yeah, we're ready to find you a fight. And then another 5 months until it actually happened, 5-6 months. So, but it was a thing where like I knew I wanted to compete the first day I stepped in the gym. That's like why I was there. And I just kind of happened to fall in love with it too as I was doing it. So
yeah. So how do you feel in regards to the relationship between you, the fighter, and your coaches, and having to rely and trust in what they're telling you? Because like I know there's some fighters we come across where the eagerness to jump in, it becomes too early than what the coaches see, and versus the coaches, they're watching everything you're doing, your whole development. So it's like, how do you feel on that trust basis?
Well, hey, and I will say to that point, that's why you see a lot of these dudes on this amateur scene. When they're introduced, they have the word independent in front of their name because they think they know about the game and they know it all. But the guys who have coaches are the guys who are willing to step back and be like, okay, this person knows the game better than I do. I might be a good fighter, but this guy, he knows the ins and outs of the game. He knows the fundamentals of the game, not just like what goes on inside the cage, but outside the cage too. So
Right.
with my coaches at Arizona Combat Sports, Trevor Lally is like the head MMA coach. Kevin Natividad is also like the MMA coach. He's an active UFC fighter who I think he's gonna fight for the LFA, or he's supposed to fight for the LFA, and he had a fight fall through a few months ago.
Damn.
Yeah, because I think he would have smoked that guy, my coach Kev. Those are my two head MMA coaches, and then Steve Rosenberg runs the grappling side of the school. So yeah, from all those guys, and not only them, but like my teammates who also teach me things and show me things, like there's a tremendous amount of trust. And it is a much like we fight solo in there by ourselves, as it should be, but it's very much a team sport. And I didn't realize that when I first joined. And it's kind of been a pleasant surprise, man. Like it has. I've met a lot of really great people at the gym, and yeah, and I'm looking forward to keeping it going.
Nice.
What position did you play in football?
In football, I was a big boy, man. I mean, I still am, obviously, but when I was younger, I was almost 400 pounds, so I played all across the line: offensive line, defensive line.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much in high school. Out here, I played for a year. I played nose tackle. And yeah, that's pretty much wherever I was on defense. I was like an inside technique, just plugging gaps and like taking up space, trying to chew up
Okay.
and run.
Don't run it here.
Yeah.
So being on the offensive line, you relied so much on your teammates.
Mhm.
Everything was about the guy next to you, making sure he's doing his job, so
Right.
that way you can do your job, right?
Mhm.
So, we talk about this a lot, the team aspect in the MMA world, where a lot
Yeah.
of people don't see that. They don't see that because you get in the octagon, they close that cage, it's mano a mano. Yeah, during the break, you see them talking to their coach, but it's man versus man in there.
Yeah.
So, and how would you relate, the transfer of using and relying on your teammates in the octagon or in the MMA world versus the way you did it in football?
I mean, I think a lot of team sports, like, I don't want to say if you played one team sport, you played them all, but as far as like a team building aspect, yeah, it's very similar. Um, it's very similar in like the camaraderie and support that we have for each other, although it is on a smaller scale because football teams you'll have like between 50 and 80 dudes, and
Right.
our fight team is composed of about probably a dozen or so individuals, maybe a little more. um, and everybody brings the cool part about it though is in fighting everybody's got like everybody's allowed to kind of bring their own flavor, so like it shines through not only in their personality but in like our different fight styles that we have. And
Right.
it's just awesome to see everybody's growth too. So yeah, man, it's very very much a team sport. Because if I just decided to, I was a big guy and I wanted to jump in there, I'd probably get my ass kicked. The only reason that I have success is because I found this group of people and have been working with them for a really long time. Well, I don't know. It's all relative, but it feels like a really long time.
Yeah. And how do you feel that the training and the conditioning of participating in football was able to translate into MMA? Because I know with some guys, when they cross over from different sports, like Luke Levanway, for example, he used to do soccer, and he was able to translate it well. How do you feel that did for yourself?
Honestly, I think I took more the mindset from football than I did like the conditioning and the workouts and stuff. I will say that kind of like football molded me into an athlete. It gave me an athlete's mindset, an athlete's work ethic,
Mhm.
and I've definitely carried that over into fighting. As far as like, yeah, it's just kind of like the same, you know, like especially me going from being a lineman to being a heavyweight. It's kind of the same thing, you know, like there's special circumstances with heavyweights whenever you get past a certain size, and like you know, I just kind of relate that to football too. But
Which conditioning's worse? Them hot days in the summer in the football field, or knocking yourself in that gym?
oh boy, okay, well, I'll tell you first. I did some wrestling in high school and middle school, and back in the day, just like straight wrestling, and wrestling practice was the hardest shit I ever done in my life. Absolutely. I've had hard football practices, but like a regular wrestling practice is going to kill me about as much as like the hardest football practice would. Um, but you know, it is outside. It is hot as shit, and it was hot as shit back then too. I will say the work that we put it in the gym probably, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
got to be harder.
Yeah, because you're in there with all the guys. You're
Mhm.
going several rounds, especially too. You know, during the summer, it's
Mhm.
still going to be a hot box. Everybody's heat going to go everywhere, and it's just going to be brutal.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that actually because the other day our coach is like, we're thinking of intervals to implement into this drill that we're doing, and he's like, all right, up downs. Yeah, everybody, we're gonna do up downs for minutes 2 and 4. And
Oh,
my mind, he's talking about up down elbows like from Muay Thai, right?
Yeah.
But my mind reverts back to up downs football. Oh my god, no! And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. Can we do something else? Can we like, I'll do knees. I'll throw punches. Like I don't give a shit. And he's like, no, up down elbows. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's funny that you mentioned that, man, because I had a little PTSD flash.
flashback.
Now that you're making me think about the conditioning of football in the heat.
That summer, man. That summer camp is different.
Oh yeah, them fucking running across the field. I'll tell you what, I don't miss that.
Yeah.
That bro, I miss a lot about the game, bro. I miss that.
Yeah, for real. And I've gotten to, because I've stopped in and out of AZ Combat Sports quite a few times and got to train. And they got phenomenal gym and phenomenal team, because especially like I forget the guy's name who does the jujitsu aspect.
Steve Rosenberg, I think, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've done some classes under him, and it's like the nonstop drills, and it gets so exhausting. And then even when you're exhausted, they still make you go through another 3 to 5 minute round.
Say the warm up is going to kick your ass because it kicks my ass. I don't always do it. To be honest, I definitely pull that card. It used to be like the 300 pounds card, and now it's just kind of like the, hey man, I've been here for a minute. Can I stretch? Rather stretch. Plus, I warmed up instead of stretching one day a couple of years ago, and I fucked some of my shit up, but I'm not going to tell you about that.
Oof.
Nah, no more
But
of
yeah,
that shit.
instead of stretching, I went and warmed up, and then I was all dead tired and had a freak mistake and messed something up a long time ago. But the warm up's going to kick your ass, and then like the drills and everything are pretty much like nonstop. And then we do solid rounds at the end, man. We do like long rounds usually.
Yeah.
And that kind of like when you're doing rounds that are like 6-minute rounds, 8-minute rounds of straight grappling, get in there for a 3-minute fight. It's like, okay, I can do this. I can probably do this, you know?
That's a lot too, going 6 to 8 minutes for a round.
Mm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. There are competition classes that they do like once a week there. And we'll just do like mad fucking minutes, dude, like 10, 12-minute rounds and like nonstop, King of the Hill drills, stuff like that, man. It's intense. And I did nothing but the grappling. I didn't touch the striking side to probably like my 9th month of training. It's all grappling.
Damn.
Yeah. I just went in there. Yeah.
So I mean, okay, so it's 2 knockouts in a row, right? 2 KOs.
The first was a sub, but yeah.
It was a sub. That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Unfortunately.
mean,
Yeah.
it was a knockout that just had to be. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I remember it now. But so heavyweights, from the fan perspective, the crowd, they're
Yeah.
always looking for knockouts. They're always
Mhm.
looking. They want
Yeah.
to see the bang
So I've
bang,
heard. Yeah.
you know, and you definitely have not, failed to give us the crowd what they wanted in your first two fights. Is that something that, going into that second one, was that something that was on your mind? Like, all right, I didn't get it in that first one. I was really close. I want to get this in. Or is that just something that, hey, it is going to be what it is. And, I'm going to go out there and do what I'm going to
So, well, thanks. First and foremost, thanks for saying that. I like when I step out there, my goal is to win, but I also do want to put on a show because people, like including people that I know, show up to watch me, or watch somebody else, and then if their fight happens to be a dud, then maybe as long as like I gave you a positive experience, whether it's a good fight or a good finish or like a crazy moment or something, then like I'm happy with that. Um, but as far as that went, it's like I don't go in with like a specific mindset other than like I'm gonna prepare for war, like as if this can be a long drag out battle. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, yeah, I can probably finish this guy. Like I can finish this guy in the first round, at least. And that's just me being 100% honest. Like with the first few fights that I've had, and it was even the case. Like I had the same mindset going into my third fight, the one that should have happened last month.
do. Yeah, we won't even talk about that.
Yeah, that's all good.
um, no, and I can sense it. Kind of like what you were talking about earlier when you were saying, "Hey, man, for the future reference, if any of my opponents watch this, I don't dab up afterwards.
Yeah.
We can dab up afterwards. I don't dab up in the beginning once the fight starts."
Mhm.
And I've always said that, I've always noticed that you have that presence, that aura with you before the fight. You're here for business. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
And it flows even afterwards when, that post-fight interview in the ring with you, your aura, your presence is there as well. So it turns you into a fan favorite after a while as well.
Well, shit. I hope so, man. Dang. Like, I mean, I am there for business. That's kind of how I am
Mm-hmm.
up until the job's done. That might carry over a little bit into the post fight interview, but I kind of try to become like not to sound corny or nothing, but like a different person. Like I kind of have to become a different person
Mm-hmm.
because I'm normally like a goofy fucking like fun guy. Like I'm just like laid back and chill. Like I don't like to fight or argue like in my personal life. Like uh, so in order to like do what I do, I kind of have to like take on a different mode and mentality. And then by the time I get to the fight, you know what I mean, and everybody's actually seeing me, I'm just like, yeah, I'm here for one reason, and it's to fuck this guy up. And then afterwards, like we can do all the hoopla and everything after, you know, after
Yeah.
Right.
celebration. But
Yeah.
you catch me before then, even at the weigh-ins, like I'll be respectful, and it's all about respect to me. It's like if you're respectful to me, I will be respectful back. And the fights that I've had so far were supposed to have like all the guys have been respectful, so I have no reason to be anything but back to them. But my
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't want to touch your glove in the cage. Like
Right.
if
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if I ever did like a legit fight where the refs brought us to the middle and they're like calling our shit out and they're like, hey, if you want to touch gloves now, you can touch gloves. But once the bell rings, it's like, yeah, I'm in a different mode and I'm not gonna touch hands with you.
We
Yeah.
I, we should have learned from Victor Ortiz.
Yeah. Well, hey, I see you guys. Your montage at the beginning had a plethora of sports, and I like that because I'm into sports, mainly like the big three and all combat sports. But Victor Ortiz kind of had that one coming. Yeah,
He did.
he
Yeah, kiss it,
apologized way too
man.
many times. It's like first, like you already apologized to him like twice. You don't need to like hug him a third time.
He tried to kiss him.
Yeah, like smooching him and shit. I was like, bro, you apologized. You hugged him several times. He acknowledged it, and then like the ref says fight and backs up, and he's still trying to hug him. And I'm like, okay, at that point, it's like he's got to hit you at some point.
Mhm.
Timber.
Yeah, and which was crazy because up to that point he was performing really well against Mayweather.
Really well.
And-
What was it? It was probably about 4 or 5 fights
Mhm.
before that. Like no one was even
Yeah.
touching him, and he was pissing him off. He was
Yeah.
frustrating him. He had him off his marker. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, he was
doing his thing.
making it chippy with the headbutt, which cost him at the time. But like, had he not gotten knocked out, like that could have won him the fight eventually.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But we all know what happened. Which is
Yeah.
protect yourself at all times. But it's also just
Don't-
it's also kind of a technical thing. It's like I don't want to like reach out and then touch your hand and then you see exactly how long my fucking arm is. Like get your
Yeah.
range on me, get your range on me from touching my hand or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
just it's such a multifaceted sport in the mental aspect of MMA combat sports, because that's even something you have to think about. Like even just touching gloves, that gives your opponent an idea of what your reach is. And then like when you're going in, stepping into the cage or stepping into the ring, you have to have the right type of mindset, because if you're not there 100% ready to go for war, any little thing, minute detail can change the course of it. It's like anybody can be anyone at any given day, and all it takes is just that one split second chance. So you have to be prepared in every facet.
Yep. No, I agree, man. It's very much like kind of like it's not a rock paper scissors sport, you know what I mean? Like just because like he beat him up and I beat him up, so like I'm definitely better than this guy. Like nah, you never really know, especially when you're standing across the cage from somebody. Like the last fight, I was as shocked as anybody that the fight was over as quick as it was. I was surprised, like up until probably like 30 seconds after it happened when I was walking around the cage. I was like, okay, because I'm thinking like, yo, this is a big kid. He's strong. Kid lifts more than I do. Like I've never put up the kind of numbers this kid's putting up in the weight room. And my coaches are hyping me up like, oh, he's a big, young, strong kid, Trev. I just turned 30 this week, by the way. So,
Hey, happy birthday.
thanks, bro. I appreciate it. I don't know how I feel about it. No, shit. I feel fine. But this kid, I think, was like 19 or 20. So I'm like, all right, he's definitely younger. And my coaches are giving me shit, just trying to hype me up for the fight. And so I just kind of went out there and I was like, yeah, man, like you can't afford to look past anybody, but at the same time, my confidence for these past few fights, especially for the last one I was about to have, was kind of like sky high. And
Yeah.
Good though. You
I
need
don't
that.
want to get like a big head either, because I know that there are real guys out there and I'm going to run into them eventually. But for these 3 fights, man, like I just felt really confident in like the team that I train with and my training partner. My main training partner, I don't know if you know his name is Leon Mackey. You guys know him?
He was your second fight against Drew. He was the really tall guy that was in the cage with you, right?
Yeah.
Big black man, my buddy Leon. He's my brother, bro. He's like, we beat the hell out of each other. So, when you fight somebody his size and with his skill set and athleticism, and I fight him every day, like once you go up against like these guys, I kind of recognize there's different levels to it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely puts you in a different class. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when whatever, Ryan. It's like when you baseball, for instance.
Mhm.
If you're used to a pitcher throwing 75 miles per hour
Yeah.
and he's topping out at 75 miles per hour,
Mhm.
and then you get in there and all of a sudden this dude's throwing 100 miles per hour, that changes shit. It's gonna
Absolutely.
take you a second to catch up. Now, if you're in there batting every day against a guy that that throws 100, 105, 110 miles per hour
Mhm.
every single day, anything that you face, you're ready for it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
And
mean? And
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's a perfect analogy too, man, and it goes back to like the teamwork, teammate aspect that we were talking about earlier, because it's my preparation with my team and how good my team is mainly what gives me the confidence in there. It's not that I think I'm like just fucking, God's gift, you know what I mean? Even though I'm pretty talented, I like to think, but it's the fact that I work with those caliber of people every day, the caliber of coaches that I have, the caliber of training partners that I have. Dope. And just working with Leon every day. I don't know if you guys saw, but Leon had Leon Mackey. He fought at the LFA event as his debut. He fought a guy who's 3-0, a dude who was 3-0 at Rage in the Cage.
Chris Pitt.
Yes, Chris Pouton, I believe. Yeah, really, really great fighter, big as shit. And they had like a back and forth first round, and then Leon knocked him out in the second round, pretty clean. And he's a former NFL player. Like, rarely do I come across guys who make me feel small, and he's gigantic. And not only that, but he's like, as a person too, I couldn't ask for a better training partner. Because when we just kind of check our egos at the door every day, and then we just go crazy on each other, and we're fucking buddy throughout the whole process. But yeah, and I also talk to people. I say, like, you don't want to have like training partners that you run over all the time, and you're just like the Anderson Silva of the gym. You want training partners and teammates that are going to push you, because you're going to run into some real guys, and you can either train with the real ones and then have like a better time on fight night, or you can train with people who you're better than and stay stagnant, and then you're going to run into one of these real motherfuckers in the cage, and you're going to be like, oh, this is what it's like to actually like go against somebody who's on another level.
Yeah, that's why I like how like Israel Adesanya's team trains, like Alex Volkanovski, Dan Hooker, because they purposely put themselves in the worst scenarios, and they don't hold back. And it's the part of growing to become a greater fighter is going through more of that adversity. It's easy to say that you can escape the worst case scenario, like if somebody's got your back and they got you in a chokehold, but to actually put yourself in that in training, live training, and have your partner like go all out with it too. That's the only way you'll be able to actually translate it into actual success.
Right. Yeah. And it's bad positions, man. That's kind of what we call it. We work from bad positions all the time. It's kind of why I wanted to do grappling for months and months before I ever even touched striking or talked about fighting. It's because I wanted to know that if push came to shove and my back hit the mat, that I would know what I was doing, and that I wouldn't, I would have a game plan. I would be in a comfort zone. So I just grappled until grappling kind of became my comfort zone. And then I started striking, and I got better at striking. And now it's just like onward and upward from there,
Yeah, because you got to lay down your foundation.
We got a question. Oh, my bad, Josh. Then we got a question from the crowd. We'll let you answer this one. How do you feel about Jake Paul's boxing career?
About his boxing career?
Yes.
It was hard to take him seriously at first, right? But the thing about him is that like he keeps coming back and he keeps fighting. He's kind of stepped up in competition. Dana White like called him out, said he wouldn't fight Anderson Silva. Well, guess what? He turned around and fought Anderson Silva. And yes, Anderson Silva was obviously like 46 years old
for boxing.
Yeah, well, he's 40. He's not a boxing specialist, right? And like he's 46 years old. So that is a tough one. I got this like crazy light thing. That in itself is like, okay, kind of, you didn't beat the Anderson Silva, But he lost to Tommy Fury. I take him more seriously than I used to. I definitely did. Like, I thought he was just kind of a joke gimmick when he knocked out Nate Robinson.
That was I don't even know why they were even making
it. Exactly.
Yeah, that was just straight up a fluke.
That was kind of a gimmick. Well, it's like I believe Nate Robinson's like 5'9", and it was just like different weight classes. It wasn't even official. So I thought he was a joke from that, but he's continued to take difficult sort of fights, man. Like Tyron Woodley is not a scrub.
No, but Tyron Woodley was so over his time. It's like
he was, and that's what he's doing. Though is I'm not saying in any way that like Jake Paul is a threat how he thinks he is, because he's not, especially in the cage. But he's everybody he's beaten is like, yeah, absolutely past their primes, except for Tommy Fury, and he lost to Tommy Fury. So
yeah, everybody's been 2 days past their prime. And then I think the Nate. Okay, so here's my thing. Tommy Fury, we have to give it to him. He fought a legit boxer.
And it was a split decision.
yeah,
Well, when I say legit, I mean he's an actual boxer.
yeah, he's a pro. He's an undefeated pro. I mean,
Yeah.
he's definitely like, and I'm just talking to like, he fought like a young, in shape for boxing like Tommy Fury.
Yes.
He's obviously not fighting like 30-year-old Anderson Silva, like, because 30-year-old Anderson Silva, even with boxing gloves, would piece him up.
Okay, now Ryan, I feel like that's who keeps calling him out. Okay, I hear you, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of this is a money grab.
Yeah,
I think a lot of this is. I think 3 of those guys we named was orchestrated in the background and played out in public. I think Anderson Silva was orchestrated in the background and played out in public.
yeah, I believe so
really
too. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing, man, because I don't see a lot of these guys straight calling him out. I see calling out a lot of these guys. Even the Tommy Fury fight, like, I'm pretty sure it got canceled one time, like it almost didn't happen.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I think it's like, I think the majority of them are orchestrated, like either through their people or through the background or them crunching the numbers. I don't think that, like, I don't recall like Anderson Silva being like, "Hey, I'll fight you," you know. I don't even really recall Nate Diaz doing that. I think he just did it because Nate Diaz, like, I think the internet and the world kind of conjured that one up. They're like, yeah, he needs to go box. He needs to go box Jake Paul and make some money.
See, I think what happens is, okay, remember how he came out and made that list? That list in the beginning, he had Canelo, he had Nate, he had all those guys on that list.
I don't actually remember that, but go on.
It was one of his little
like a hit list. Like,
yeah. Right
Conor
after the
McGregor
Ben
was on
Hendrick,
I'm there.
the Astrick, and the Nate Diaz fight. Right after that, he made a list.
Okay.
So, and I'm gonna go with what you said about the media calling him out for him, because as he's fought people that have been on the list, the media brings up the next fighter, and it usually is the person he fights. So when he fought Tyron Woodley, they asked about Anderson Silva. The next thing you know, they scheduled Anderson Silva. When he fought Anderson Silva, they asked about Tommy Fury. Next thing you know, they scheduled Tommy Fury. Same thing with Nate. And then what did they ask about this after the Nate thing? Conor McGregor. And then what happened with Conor McGregor? He called him out the next day.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of it is how do the fans react when the names are said? Oh, if they react with a ripple, let's schedule it. It's going to be a big money fight. And Nate Diaz was the biggest fight he's had so far, money wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you in that aspect too, it's because what I feel like reason why a lot of other boxers and everything aren't necessarily calling him out publicly as well is because Jake, at the end of the day, he's a very smart person, and he knows how to leverage his influence and his audience to be able to push and get these fights. And, you know, like part of with like Tyron Woodley is that these bets where it's like, oh shit, what if I actually lose this bet? What if I actually lose to this Disney kid? And a lot of it becomes more so the aspect of the psychological warfare.
He's also picking some really, really competitive, spirited guys. So I don't know if some of the guys that he's called out in public would ever turn you down, money or not. So
I think the end game for him, and you're right, he's like a really smart businessman. Both the Paul brothers are, because they have to be, because they had like, I don't know, millions of dollars by the time they were like 14. So you kind of have to be, or you have to have smart people around you. But I think his end game has always been a big money fight with either Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather. I don't think he'll ever get Mayweather. like his brother did for their little like shit show of a weird exhibition match. But I don't know, he could possibly get Conor. But also, Ryan asked, should he get respect from the boxing community? I think he should get respect as in like the dude can box, but I don't think that he should get respect as in like putting him up there as like a great boxer or anything. Like he can throw hands, sure, like, but he's nothing like crazy, unique, and special.
Yeah.
And
it
that's
goes-
what I said too. I
Fight.
mean,
Yeah.
this last fight, I give him credit because he looked like a boxer. He looked like an amateur boxer. He looked like he'd been training in the boxing gym and going through the motions.
Yeah.
Any of the fights before that, he looked like an exhibitionist.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing to keep in mind too, man, is like that's the best training money can buy. That's the best everything money can buy that he's doing over there because
Right.
he takes it serious. Obviously, he takes it seriously, but you know, you got like, for instance, I work a 9 to 5 and then I train and I find time to get my training in. You know what I mean? If you put
Right.
20 million in my bank and we're like, yo, go be as good of a fighter as you could possibly be. Like money's not an object. I mean, you do that to half the dudes at my gym, they'll probably be fucking taking on pros in like a year or two, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Get the top-notch food, top-notch
Yeah.
training,
Top-notch training.
top-notch equipment.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to worry about doing anything but training and taking care of his body.
Yeah, and
Like-
he got Hall of Famer boxers to do his training. So it's like that's another aspect too. And I think that's part of the strategy as well with him because like he immediately dove into pro boxing. He doesn't have the full bill amateur resume. Like if you look at Ryan Garcia, he has like what nearly 200 amateur fights before he turned pro. So
Same.
now he's got these former Hall of Famer or these Hall of Famers that I feel is also kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily controlling, but like regulating how his early career as a pro boxer is, and they're utilizing all their experience, their knowledge, and their own training experience for him.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
the boxing match says PBC behind it, and he got to do that's fought 100 amateur fights, that's when I'm gonna tip my hat to him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just always goes down to competition. And that's the crazy thing about the sport is that, like,
Mhm.
in order to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Yep.
And if resumes matter, you know, and I just, he's going to do this and he's probably going to, I don't think he'll parlay this into a McGregor fight. But that's going to be the goal, you know, sounds like
Yeah.
from what they were saying.
I honestly think it is gonna happen.
Mhm.
Honestly, what has McGregor done? I don't think that his ankle wants him back in the octagon. I don't care what nobody says.
Mhm.
If his ankle wanted him back in the octagon, then we would have already heard Dana talking about it or trying to push it harder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's what's best for him currently. I think that this is a good money grab for him to buy some more time, but stay active, if that makes sense, you know? So I think it's going to happen. I really do. I think the Nate Diaz versus Paul in the octagon is going to happen first. That'll happen before the end of the year, sometime in November, December. And then watch for Conor, Jake Paul somewhere around March.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't know if I don't think the fight's going to happen just with Conor and Jake, just because Conor doesn't necessarily need the money. And if he's going to jump in the ring for that, I think he'd do so against like Manny Pacquiao or like Floyd again, although Floyd's probably not going to fight him again.
Yeah.
But I think he'd have a lot more to lose than he would to gain because he's in it now for like the sport and like the legacy. And at least like that's what it seems to me because he's not fighting like he doesn't need the money. You know, obviously.
Yeah.
Between fighting and his whiskey brand and everything, he's like pretty much a billionaire.
I don't know if it's necessarily needing the money.
Just to
In the
knock
sense of
this little YouTuber out.
It's
there's a
like
thing
part of
about
the pride
Conor.
and ego.
Yeah.
Yes,
There's ego.
yes. But there's a thing about Conor, man, because even that last situation with Dana and Conor, Connor wants the money. He wants all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see the perfect 12, and that's why you see all his other business venues, because he is one of those guys that wants to be considered one of the top richest guys in the world down the road. And I think that I think Connor came in the game like that and positioned himself very well. And that's why he was hated by so many guys, because he did get those big money fights really early on.
Right.
So
He did it differently too, man. He really did
yeah.
the game different. He changed the game and the way that fighters market themselves and the way they talk. I mean,
Yep.
Chael Sonnen, I think, did it first, but
Yeah.
nobody really did it like Connor. With Chael Sonnen, it was like, oh, he's doing like a WWE bit. Like this is fun.
Yeah.
Like this is fun. It was brilliant, and he's probably one of the best talkers ever, right up there.
Yeah.
I love Chael.
Covington's like a slither right between the two.
Right. But
Yeah.
Connor also, like, Connor just did it a little bit differently. And it also seemed like less of an act and a little bit more of like, oh, this guy really like just thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. And at the time he was, man. At the time he was. I remember when the Aldo knockout happened. I like had the whole world was just like, what the like? Who's the build that fight had for it to end like that?
Yeah.
I can see him, you know. Obviously, like what do people with like all the money and power in the world want? They want more money and more power, right? So I can see him like doing it for the money, but at the other end, it's like he steps in there with Jake Paul and wins. It's like, okay, cool, like you knocked this kid out, like congratulations.
Wow.
He steps in there and loses, or if it's then he becomes a gimmick. Like he becomes like okay, you're officially washed now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a gamble he's willing to take.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he could just be like, I'm Conor McGregor. I'll go in there and fucking starch this kid. But he steps in there and loses, man. Then it's like, who do you even fight in the UFC after that? You know?
Yeah, for real.
I mean, even after this Justin and Dustin thing, man.
Yeah.
That group, the Connors, the Justins, the Dustins, there's a couple of others I just can't get off my head. The Lawlers, they're just on their way out. You know, it sucks because those were for a minute meat and potatoes of the UFC, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like changing of the guard, just like anything else, man. I was bummed when Jacare Souza retired. Ronaldo Jacare was one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah.
I was convinced that he was going to go on a title run before Kevin Holland fucking like hammer fisted him from the bottom and knocked him. What the hell just happened? You know,
that was so brutal too.
Yeah, it was one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's like any sport. It's like changing the guard. It happens. The thing about fighting that I like though is like I don't know. I tell people I'm fighting and they're like, you're 29, you're 28, now I'm 30. You know, and people, they hear 30 and they're like, oh, well, like your shelf life as an athlete is like over. But with fighting, everybody's different and every fighter is different. You know, some guys will fight till the cows come home. At least I think for heavyweights, like we get to fight for a longer time than it seems on average than most other divisions.
Yeah. And so for you yourself, what's kind of your goals and aspirations for your career?
Well, for right now, like the big goal is to turn professional and fight for money, and eventually fight for enough money to where I can quit my day job and focus entirely on fighting. That's a tough, that's kind of a tall order, you know, if you know about pro fighting. So, like, if I can, there's a lot of pros that don't even quit their fucking day jobs, you know, or a lot of like guys in the UFC who like work shit on the side. But if
what does that timetable look like for you?
To be honest, man, I wanted to do like 5 fights this year, and now I was kind of on track to do that, but this little hiccup happened, so I got to talk to my coaches about it, but I want to turn pro within the next couple of years. If not by like the end of next year, then at some point in 2025.
Okay.
But I ideally would like to have a string of successful fights and then turn pro by like the end of 2024. I think that would be solid.
Nice.
I mean, you look at these fights, man. Like fighters in the UFC, Bellator, the heavyweights that they have, man. All the top ranked guys, save maybe like Sergey Pavlovich in the UFC, they're all in their like late 30s, mid 30s, late 30s. Like Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic, when they were fighting for the belts, dude, they were like 39 and 41. So it's like it gives me.
Thor came back. He did that shit at 50.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying, man. Like everybody's shelf life is different. No two people are the same, and I don't have like bad injuries from football. Like I know a lot of guys who came out of football fucked up, man. Like 23-year-olds walking around like they're 50-year-olds, you know. But I got lucky enough to get out of the sport without any kind of damage like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Like I think if I go pro by the end of next year, I just want to take it one step at a time and just keep getting fights, keep winning, God willing, and just see what happens, man. See if I can go on a string of wins and make something happen. And you know, like it would be like, I don't even want to say it because I feel like a fucking poser saying it, but like it would be a dream come true to fight for the UFC. It'd be a dream come true to fight. Yeah, Mike knows. Mike knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. It would be a dream come true to fight for the UFC or Bellator or like PFL, even LFA, man. Like, I just want to be able to fight for money and to get something out of this sport because I put a lot into it and I love it. And I think I got a lot to give to the game too. So
I'm here for it. Who kind of influenced you to take this path growing up? Like who did you watch? Who was pushing you towards that octagon? Who was making that brain tick?
My fucked up mental state was pushing me towards no, dude, oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I've just always been like a competitive person. Oh god, I've always been a competitive person, and that just goes back to being a baby. And I also think I saw fighting. Like fighting was like one of the first sports that I actually saw, and I was just enamored by it, dude. I remember watching, like being probably like 3 and 4 years old. First off, my favorite movies were like Mortal Kombat, Bloodsport, you know, like just those kind of things. And then I see like one day I just see like two dudes, probably like 97, 98 when I was a little kid. Somebody just left me on a couch in a living room and there's fights on, like old school UFC bare knuckle. And this dude with a big afro just fucking decked this other guy, came out, decked this other guy in the face like twice, and knocked him out in like 10 seconds. And there was just a big stream of blood. And I remember that was like the first time that I saw blood, like real life blood. I mean, you know, like a kid will prick my finger, whatever. That's when I was like, oh, that guy's leaking. Like, what the fuck, man? And it was like just a mind blowing experience for me. And I was like, this is allowed. Like, I thought violence was bad, you know? So from then, the sport has always had an impression on me, and I've just always followed it. And, you know, I don't know what exactly pushed me to like take the steps to do it. This kind of just was always like a bucket list thing. And then I was like, you know, I'm like, I want to do this for real. And then, you know, I take a look at the landscape of like professional heavyweight fighters. And if there's any division that's like ripe for the taking, I think it's the heavyweight division.
Was there any fighter in particular that growing up watching that kind of helped kickstart more of that fire in you?
Well, I will say like, people might not like this, but I'm a big Kimbo Slice fan. So he was one of the first guys. Like obviously, like his UFC run wasn't like anything to run home about. But he was one of the first guys like that I consistently started watching that got me back into fighting in like my kid years. But I also watched Kevin Randleman back in the day, bro. That was one of the things that stood out to me. Yeah, and Tito Ortiz, but more so Kevin Randleman like stood out to me because I was like, who the fuck is that guy? And head. I thought the way he did his hair, I thought his head looked like a big cantaloupe. So I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh shit, it's the cantaloupe guy. Like, let's do it. Like,
And he'd be
like,
fucking people up.
Yeah, dude, because I just never seen anybody like him. They called him the monster for a reason. He really was a monster. All right.
Randleman was dope, man. He was really dope.
Yeah, he was the dopest. And then like dudes inspired me, like Kimbo and like Tank Abbott was an inspiration, you know. I like to think I'm better than him, but you know, like just as far as being like a big burly dude, who it's like, oh shit, like if I didn't know any better, that guy could be like unloading trucks in the back of like a CVS or something, you know what I mean? But he's in there scrapping and knocking dudes out. So
it was so fun watching being in like restaurants or even just little parties and shit, and Tank would come out and they'd be like, oh, he's gonna get fucked up. Yeah, right. Yeah, the fuck right.
Oh, dude, he was one of the first guys that I saw that I was like, damn, like maybe I could do that. And you know who also was kind of an inspiration? Was Daniel Cormier. Like Daniel Cormier, big time inspiration because he was also one of the smaller heavyweights, and I think he's like the short heavyweight champion. He was at a height disadvantage. He's 5'11". He's a height disadvantage in every fight in his career, including light heavyweight.
Mm-hmm. And when he fought Gustafsson, when he fought Derek Lewis, even Anthony Johnson.
Yep. And the only people that beat him were Bones and Miocic.
And he picks everyone up and slams the shit out of them.
Right. he beats the hell out of everybody. Like he finds a way, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cormier is dope. Kevin Randall, though, that was. What was I about to ask you? I forgot what I was about to ask you.
Do you need Jesus, James?
Might at the moment rewind. But yeah, so if you could compare your style to anyone in the UFC, either today or previously, who would it be?
Man, that's tough, bro. Because like I don't want to say that. I don't know. I don't really fight like anybody. Especially my first two fights. I don't think I've had like a lot of room to show off like everything that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I'll say Brock Lesnar. I don't give a yeah.
Hey, I like that.
I think that Wildman attitude.
I think the ground pound from my last fight was Brock Lesnar-ish. It gave me shades of Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir, you know?
Yeah.
Nah, well, with that,
I like Drew too, man, because I know you were talking about him earlier. Drew's a cool dude. The last few fight, like you said, he's a beast in the weight room and all that good stuff. He's
putting up numbers that I've never put up in my life, even when I played football. Right. So I'm like,
you just got put out early. Hopefully he gets back in the octagon soon and gets to showcase some of his skills.
Yeah. I spoke to him. I had a chance to speak to him after the fight, and and I just told him. I asked him if he was part of a gym, and he was like, "No, not currently." And I was like, "Well, get to a gym, bro. Like that's the first piece of advice I would give to anybody that wants to fight, especially a heavyweight, bro, because we don't fuck around and we're big." And if even Drew being as big as he is and as strong as he is, man, if he fires off a shot and hits me in the right spot, then like we could be singing a different tune.
Yeah, especially
that's definitely one of the. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna say, especially at heavyweight, you have to think about what people on this think about is that you guys are the ones that's not only going to be dishing out the most damage, but you also take the most damage too. So there's also almost like a higher risk reward ratio because how much intent you could put into those shots, and then even vice versa. If you're not prepared for it, if you're more independent, it could have kind of a bigger toll.
Yeah, bro, and it's just like experience, man. It's like I get my ass beat dozens of times a month, you know. So when I get cracked by dudes with shots that I'm not gonna lie, I've never been put out, like had my lights put out before. I'm praying that it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we do this game long enough, it's gonna happen, but just thank God it hasn't yet. But I've been hit with shots where I've been like, how didn't I go out? Or like how okay, maybe I went out for a split second, you know, but I'm still here. So I mean, it can happen to anybody, especially and it's just about like that split second. That's another reason I love the sport is because it's just such like you said earlier. It's like one tiny little detail can determine the outcome of a fight.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are fights when it's like, oh, like I'm far and away better than this guy, and sometimes it's like, oh, well, I just got the better of him, and it was my night, and it could have been either of our nights. So, but yeah, I always got a lot of respect and love for my opponents if they're respectful to me. I haven't had a guy who's been disrespectful yet, but some of them dudes were getting chippy at the weigh-ins, man. At the fucking
last one.
waiting for the last one.
I remember that.
I
I
was like,
got kicked out.
yeah. I'm like, yo, they're gonna have to find a new venue because this place. No, thank you. But and like I am all for like some good talk here and there, but like you'll never catch me doing some shit like that, especially if I get to a point where I'm gonna get paid for this.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I
Especially
fight?
there's no room for the racial conflicts.
What's that?
I said there's no room for the racial conflicts. It was turning racial back then too.
Oh, was it? I didn't even notice that, bro. Shit.
So the weigh-ins were getting a little chippy, and I mean they handled it well. They were able to get it under control, make sure they didn't go too far.
Yep. So. I didn't even recognize the other guy. I the dude with the face tats and shit. I'd never seen him before in my life. But to be honest, though, I kind of wanted to see that fight happen. So hopefully in the future those two can get it in. But
yeah,
me too. I was hyped about that one.
Yeah, no, it'll be a good card. And for the record, though, not to talk about that at all, but like I would fight for Rage in the Cage again. Like if they put an event out or something, just because like I have a lot of gratitude for them for like even putting on events to give dudes like me a platform, or like just an opportunity to showcase what I have. I always have a lot of loyalty and gratitude for anybody who does that. So anybody who puts on fights, So.
Yeah, and that's why we. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say that's why I love what we do as well, because part of fighting in the combat sports now is like what we were talking about Conor McGregor, your presence on social media, what you're doing to help garner more of that, and that leverages more of your career. So that's what I really love about like what James and I do.
Yeah, no, and you guys are as important as anybody in the sport at every level.
We're trying to, just provide an extra platform to be able to put your guys out there, and also tell the other side. There's a lot of, this is one thing I always say too about fighting. If you look at basketball, if you look at football, you look at baseball, a lot of fans get more personable with those players. There's shows that cater to, look at my house or look at my car or follow me around as I take my kids to school for those sports. So you get to see the human side of them. And that's where we like to focus on the human side of the fighter.
Hell yeah, man. No, and I'm with that too, because, I'm one of those people where like my whole life people can just look at me and like I feel like people draw conclusions about me before they like know me. So, like it is important to like I'm happy to like give people like an inside glimpse, you know what I mean? And it's I don't know, it's a good thing. I majored in journalism in college.
Oh really?
Oh wow.
Yeah, journalism and mass comm, baby. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. That was my plan, was go to the NFL and then retire and be a broadcaster. I should take the Tony Romo route in life.
But, there you go.
Maybe you're gonna take the Michael Bisping route.
Oh shit! I like my eyes, bro. I got good eyes. Don't push that on me.
We'll say Daniel Cormier. We'll say Daniel Cormier.
All right, we're gonna go Cormier.
No, yeah, man, I would love to. I just, we'll see what happens, bro.
I was gonna say you can't come on here and we not have no dialogue about the beard. It's tamed right now, so I guess it's tamed right now, so I guess it was staying under wraps for a good amount of time. But
yes,
Fear the Beard is real.
Yeah,
Fear the Beard is real. It's a real thing.
When it grows out, it's time to unleash the beast.
Hey, the beast is always there. I'm like the Hulk. You don't understand. I am.
You know, it's crazy too, because all the kids, when you walk in with the beard, and then they announce your name, and it's Trevor Beard, and they're like, "Oh man," you know, it just pumps them up. That's my son was 50, and he was like, "I like the guy with the beard." That's all he kept saying.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. I think I got a chance to talk to your kids last time before I left the venue. But yeah, and I think I promised your son is James, right?
Yep.
James, yeah, I promised him. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna knock this guy out. So you're gonna knock him out? Like, yeah, bro. But nah, man, it was, you know, I don't know, it can always grow back, you know. If you guys know anybody who can get this to grow up here, you let me know. All right. Until then, like, I'm just gonna rock this. I did shave it all the way. Like, I just get rid of it, and then I regret doing it right after. You know, not always.
Go to grab it, and it's all smooth.
Yeah, bro. It makes things like showers take like 10, 15 minutes longer than they should. You know, I'll use a whole separate towel to dry my beard off, and I'll be driving in the car a couple minutes later and feel just like a wet spot, like a wet. I'm like, what in the fuck is this? Like, and don't even get me started on eating, bro. Don't even get me started on eating.
What's the thing that gets caught in it the most?
Everything, bro.
What dish?
You know what it was? It was getting so long. It was going into my mouth whenever I tried to eat anything.
Oh, that's the worst part.
Yeah, dude. I'm like chewing on my burger while I got like some hair in the corner of my
spaghetti and chin hair.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got spaghetti in hair.
It comes at a price, man. Beauty comes at a price in all forms, you know. So, but it'll come back. It'll come back though. Don't worry about that.
So before we get up out of here, Josh, you got a question for him?
Yeah. So if you could have anyone in your corner, it could be anybody that's dead or alive across combat sports, or even somebody that's never been in sports. If you could just have them in your corner for one fight, who'd you pick?
I'd probably choose my brother Russell, who passed away in 2020 in a car accident. And I told him, he was like my best friend, and I had talked about fighting for a couple of years, probably like a year, up until he passed away. And he never got to see me fight or anything like that. And I actually didn't even really start like training hardcore until after he passed away. So yeah, I'd probably, if I could choose one fight to have anyone in my corner, it'd just be him, so he could see me fight.
Hey, that's what's up. That's respect, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And then if I could choose 2 and 3, it would be my coaches Trevor Lally and Kevin Natividad. I need those motherfuckers there to tell me what to do.
There you go.
If shit gets hairy.
Surprisingly not, surprising or not, we get a lot of fighters that say, you know what, I'd have to stick with my current coach because I don't know if I would even be able to hear anybody else.
Right. Hey, that's what I was. If it was anybody living, it'd probably be one of my 2 coaches right now, just because of exactly that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I'm superstitious. You know what I mean? You don't like to change too much stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Especially if it's going right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably choose them. Rocking with them for the time being, man.
Nice.
Sir.
Well, definitely, man. We really appreciate you coming on, talking with us.
Of course. Yeah, of course, man.
Love Thank your energy out there. You command the crowd. Keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna build a following.
Thanks, bro.
You are. There's like we talked about. There's certain personalities that once they start to vibrate through the community, they catch them. So you got one of those. Fear the beard. Kids love it. Keep it doing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. And like I said, I just try to entertain and give people their money's worth. You know what I mean? And yeah, if people like that and people vibe with that, then hell yeah, like I vibe with them too. So I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys for having me on and everything you guys do for us.
All right, we appreciate you, man. It's a privilege time and time again to hear your story and to help spread that message too.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's always a privilege to talk to you, Josh. And Jay, my dudes.
Yeah. Anyone shout out anything you want to say before you get up out of here?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Arizona Combat Sports, everybody over there. My AZ Combat Sports fan. I don't know. Maybe catch me on a rough card in the near future. I'm trying to get on the August 26th card, so we'll see about that. But I can't do anything unless I have the green light from my bosses. So we'll see about that. And I don't know. Stay tuned for the near future. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the cage.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, man.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, you
Alright,
too,
bro.
man. Peace.
Another fun one, man.
Yeah, that was a genuinely good one. Like that one was, I really enjoyed it. That was wholesome.
Yeah. No, I I really enjoyed it myself. He's a good dude. We vibed with him from the get go. Like I said, my kids, they enjoyed him. The crowd
Yeah,
did too, man.
yeah, dude, it's the beard. You gotta fear the beard.
Definitely.
I,
He did his thing, bro. He did his thing.
Yeah, and I could tell too. He definitely has a bright future ahead of him. Because, like, I mean, even with us looking at like all of our stats that we go through, the first interview that I did with Trevor at the weigh-ins, it had I think like 80 something likes, and it had like a few hours of watch time, and then but now like going right back around to his second weigh-in interview, like his energy was like more happy, energetic. He was like excited and boom, he was getting hundreds and hundreds of likes. So it's like it's really cool to help be a part of these guys' story, help build that story, and then to have the hindsight that's like we could tell like these guys are gonna take it far.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He said he was trying to get on the rough.
Yeah. Yeah, looks like he may try to get on the rough 26 card if his coaches approve and if they find an opponent.
That'd be dope.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see him in that circuit, in that promotion. They're really good dudes over there. I mean, yeah, we got a packed August as far as fight goes. Um, we got a packed August as far as fight goes.
You gotta find me first.
We got UFL coming up. So we got UFL coming up on the 12th, this upcoming Friday. And Saturday we'll be doing UFL. Harrison Griffin, Rampage Jackson, Frank Mir, Tito Ortiz, Chris Angel. Actually Rampage Jackson Jr. will be fighting on that card, correct?
Yeah,
It's gonna be big.
I forget if his name is pronounced Raja, but yeah, Raja to clone Jackson. I'm gonna be excited for that one. I hope I could get a Wayne interview with him because that'd be pretty fire. And then like you got Tyke Werder, you got Amun Kazme. He's coming back. He's actually gonna be flying in tomorrow too.
Yeah, this is gonna be a big week. Glad to see another really strong promotion in Arizona. So I definitely will be there, or we will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Rampage and Rashad rivalries was something else,
bro.
Oh my goodness,
The good old days.
Any fight fan, a sports competition fan, fan of competition, I should say. Anybody, you like those fights? That was some shit.
I still remember the Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz rivalry.
Anything with Chuck Liddell in it was fucking fire.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, Keith Jardine and Chuck Liddell was dope. Like, we can go back on Chucky. And then you got the Randys, man. I really enjoyed a lot of Randy's fights.
Mm-hmm.
He took me back with a Kevin Randleman. That reminds me of Newton, Mike Hughes. That was a really good one.
Yeah. I still remember a long time ago when Lyoto Machida and Randy Couture fought.
When Machida first came in, bro, he was a fucking killer.
Dude, that was one of my that was my favorite fighter growing up too.
Fucking assassin. Yeah,
Well, now see on that, it actually turned the other case around. That was actually the other way around. So yeah, I will actually say something on that. It was Chuck later revealed, and the evidence did suggest that it was actually his wife that
yeah.
was being So Chuck,
Right.
he's innocent. I love you, bro.
Yeah. We know what those fists do.
Mm-hmm.
Knock motherfuckers out. Where's the hospital bill, bitch? She didn't get beat up. No, but yeah, no, he did. He definitely did a lot. Then we got the 26th. We got a double header. We got Rough Nation 55, and we got the first ever showing of PFL. So should be some stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Should be some
Yes, sir.
stuff this month, man.
Yeah, and
I'm excited.
yeah, and a recent UFC fighter that just won on the last UFC card, Kyler Phillips, he's expected to be at the PFA, which that happens. You guarantee we gonna get an interview with him.
Yep, and I think this week coming up, our man fights a UFC card again as well. I think Marcus fights again.
That's
This weekend or
right.
next
I
weekend.
forgot about that. I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, he fights this weekend, same time as UFL.
Right, man. No, we got some people in the woodworks that right now in the circuit doing some things this week, man. It's gonna be a big August. Big August. Throwing hands is gonna be on full alert in August.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And don't
sir.
we got a Sean O'Malley coming up?
Yeah, I think he's also gonna be fighting the 19th against Aljamain Sterling.
Yep. So we got this weekend. Next weekend we got Sean O'Malley. Weekend after that we got PFA and Ruff. This weekend coming up we got Marcus. There's a lot going
Mm-hmm.
on.
And then we got
And
more boxing
football's
events
back,
next
dog.
month too.
Great. Football's back too. This is fabulous. This is fabulous. It's time for sports again. I
Let's
swear
go.
I'd be so lost during the months of like June to August. Like, all right, well, really it's May. During the months of May to August, I'd be so lost in life. Like, what is this? Why is life like this? There's no fucking sports on. That shit sucks. Like, who would live in a world with no sports? How could you? How would it work?
For real, for real. Hey, that's why I love combat sports.
Right? If there was a world with no sports, we just like throw water bottles at each other and call it dodgeball or something.
Call it
What the
water
fuck
ball.
would we do? Yeah, like what the fuck would we do?
You got Adam saying in the background, be like, that's some high quality H2O.
You gonna come in at the end of the damn show and hit me with this bullshit? Damien, call Jake Paul. Schedule the fight. Schedule the damn fight, Damien. Get this shit going. 0-17 my ass. Out of here, that
That's
bullshit.
hilarious.
I can't even take you serious no more, Damien. God damn it. Anyways, man, before we get up out of here, Josh, anything you trying to say?
Once again, it's a privilege for us to be able to sit here, talk, to have this platform, to interact with so many phenomenal individuals, so many great fighters, and to really be in the moment of what we're creating here, because we're creating something that's truly beautiful on a scale that I don't really think we even comprehend.
I don't know, man. It just keeps growing. Every time I turn around, there's something new added to it. We're trying to get a couple of people on here for pay-per-views. We're trying to run a couple of promotions on the network for pay-per-views. I was just contacted by another one that's based out of Alaska that we're trying to bring on board.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got some boxing we're trying to bring on board. We got a lot of stuff in the works, you guys, and we appreciate your support. Even if it's Damien trolling, we still appreciate your support. No,
Or Dylan talking about prostitutes.
and the prostitutes did feel bad. I understand. They felt horrible. But we got a lot of stuff in the works that we're trying to get going and bring you some of the best sports we possibly can. So we appreciate your guys' support. We appreciate everything. But yeah. And like you said, man, I think that we're trying to put together something out here, um, for the combat community that is going to boil over into other states and eventually spread. So stay tuned.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, till next time. I'm Jay.
Name's Josh. Peace.
This is Throwing Hands.
Shanig, man. Fuck with ASAP Sports Network, man. Tune in, stay logged in, and stay mouthed in. You dig? Yuck mouth. Yada da. Boy!
Yeah, check this out, man. It's your boy Young Dro. I'm in the building with ASAP Sports, man. If you ain't here, you ain't nowhere, man. As soon as possible, get here. You dig?
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
Rebel soul child got a fist ball, I'm a respawn of ancestors, and I'm blessed, They are not him, tell him fess up, I get check stub, hella carefree, nothing scares me, hella reckless, yeah, I got next up, right, now we not the same, cause see when I look in your iris, you likely to talk but not ready to ride, you do better keeping it quiet, my pen is ignited, my soul is enlightened, I like who I am, but I'm biased, the pilot is right, and my drip is a